Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And here with me today, I have another draft prospect I'd like you guys to meet. This here is Elijah Alston. He is an edge rusher out of Miami. How you doing today, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, man. Obviously, want to get a chance to meet you, hear your story. Obviously, an edge rusher with a high motor and just exciting play. So, go ahead and introduce yourself, and let's get started.
Again, I'm Elijah Austin, an edge rusher out of Miami. Currently, I would say before Miami, I was at Marshall for a little bit, about 5 years. Had an amazing time there. After the 5 years, I transferred to Miami. Had a, a decent year there, but for the most part, from Marshall to Miami, here we are right now
Gotcha,
for the
man.
upcoming draft.
And this past year, obviously, for Miami did great. You guys had an awesome year.
Did
Do want to
amazing.
talk about your time there, but I kind of want to start at the very beginning. Go ahead and let me know how long actually have you played football?
Um, I've been playing football for a very long time. I would say around possibly like 5 or 6. I've been playing football for a little minute. Uh Always been in helmets and shoulder pads my entire life. So
Gotcha. So seemingly coming straight out of the womb with a helmet on. So
literally.
um, cool. So in my notes, obviously, attended Oscar Smith High School in Chesapeake, Virginia. And I'm trying to get a good feel for things there when you were, I guess, first starting out as a football player. Talk to me about your time at Oscar Smith and maybe your fondest memory as a high school athlete.
Oscar Smith. That was a little minute ago. But
Yeah.
my time at Oscar Smith was I feel like I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of ups and downs with just I feel like life in general. But for the most part, Arch Smith has taught me a lot about life and on the field as well. Especially the football part. Um, Definitely, Arch Smith is definitely a top program for high school if you want to go play football. Amazing platform. A lot of scouts come in and out of there. Come look at the kids. Come check us out. We win ball games, so it's just Arch
Hey,
Smith is the place to go, honestly, especially for a public school. That's an amazing place to go. Some of my fond memories, I feel like it was probably my first 3 years of high school, going to them state championships. Even though I never got a chance to win a state championship, it was still an amazing feeling to go out there and still compete at the highest level in high school to still showcase like, hey, like I belong here. You know what I'm saying? Like this game was we y'all brought us to this game for a reason. And then my senior year we lost before we can get our opportunity to go to the championship. But again, Oscar Smith was a fun time for me. It was an amazing stepping stone into my future.
gotcha. Interesting. It's interestingly enough, Elijah. Like when I try to go on Huddle and take a peek at the roster there was a lot of Alstons on that roster. Is that a lot of family or just
Um,
the area?
I have no idea. That is the question I don't know the answer to. I don't really have a lot of family members with that name in the state that I'm in. So it's like a lot of my family I know, like on my dad's side, either they're in New York or they're in North Carolina, from what he's told me. But for the most part, like I've never really met any people, honestly, in my area or in the state of Virginia with my last name. So
All right. Maybe they listed you a couple times. I'm not sure. Part of the reason why I asked is I thought that maybe perhaps you had some, brothers or something you played with, but certainly fun as is, as you had mentioned. I mean, obviously, a very competitive ball there. Also have in my notes that did just a tad bit of wrestling there. And
a little
so
bit.
obviously, coming out of Oscar Smith there in Chesapeake, Virginia. I was taking a look at some of the schools that had offered you at the time, and it seemed as if Marshall was your best option coming out of high school. So let's talk a little bit about your time there, which Obviously, dude, right out the gate was a struggle because everybody playing football was dealing with the pandemic. So, talk to me about those early years at Marshall.
Um, I graduated 2019 out of high school and went to Marshall. Marshall was one of those decisions where it was like, all right, out of all the offers that I had, I didn't really have many coming out of high school. So, but for the ones I did have, I feel like Marshall was again one of the bigger conferences to go play football in, and on top of that, it was the furthest away from home. Um, Me personally, I've been in Virginia for so long. It was like I gotta go experience something else. I don't care what it is. It's the fact that I'm not home. My mom always encouraged me as well to like go live life. Like no matter what it is, go explore life. Go see something different. Try something new. My mom always was doing that. So shout out to mom. But um Marshall, we started out there 2019. I didn't play at all or travel at all 2019. That was a very humbling experience in my opinion, coming from again Oscar Smith and being a big star, being a big player on my team, playing a big role. That was a bit of a game changer coming in and basically like not traveling, basically like staying on the sidelines during home games or just having to just work out during travel games. It was a different experience, but it was very humbling. It put a little fire under me to make me want to get up and keep going to outwork the people that were practicing, the people that were playing to catch up or probably take a step further than they were. Then we had COVID 2020. 2020 was a different year. Even though I got blessed to get my year back, but still it was 2020. That year everybody know the world kind of like shut down. um, I played a little bit of that game. Out of the 10 games that we played at Marshall, I played five. I think I had half a sack that year, but that was just more of a year where I got my feet wet. I still didn't start, but I got my feet wet, so that was pretty fun. We get into 2021. That was my first year starting. I think I had about four sacks, I would say. Four, I believe. Yes. So got my feet wet a little bit more, started to find my rhythm. It was a pretty good year for again me upcoming. And then we get into 2022, had a bit of a rough patch in my road. Dealt with some outside things, a few like little distractions that kind of knocked me off my pivot. But for the most part, 2022 was definitely a little patch in the road, one of those years. And then 2023 is kind of where it's like I had to sit myself down and basically clear my plate, clear everything around me, distractions, anything that could again move, bump me around, take my focus off what I need to focus. I changed a lot of things like my eating habits, who I was hanging out with, things I was doing by myself alone in the house. I feel like I invested more time and more, like just a lot, just invested more into myself when it came to my on and off the field things. 2023 year was my one of my biggest years, one of my best years of my time at Marshall. One of my also funnest years at Marshall as well. Despite of what the record says, I would say that is probably the one of the best team chemistries that I've ever had at Marshall, or just entirety of my college career. I've really enjoyed the guys that I came up with, the guys I played with, practiced with, ate with, just the whole nine. Again, 2023 was my one of my biggest years. Um, and then I transferred to Miami. The transfer to Miami, that was more of I felt like personally was a business decision. I could have went anywhere, but going to Miami, it was another change of scenery. So it was like, hey, it's an opportunity to go live life. Not due to the fact of the things that go on in Miami, but it was just more of the fact like let's go do something new. Football is still going to be the same. Football is football at the end of the day, no matter where you go. It was just more of a like, let's change your environment. Let's take another step forward in life to see something new, to do something different. Again, football is in the ACC at Miami, so that's a bigger conference compared to the Sun Belt. But for the most part, again, football is still football at the end of the day. So me knowing the DC, Lance Guidry. He was there at Marshall at some time. I played with Coach G. So I know his system. I know how he likes his things. I know what he doesn't like. So me and Coach G have a very good relationship. So I feel like that was another reason of comfort of why I went to Miami. But for the most part, Miami was a business decision. Um, throughout that year, I feel like Miami also gave me my own little challenges, but for the most part, I feel like my time in Miami was worth it. On and off the field, I feel like it was worth it. It taught me a lot of things that I need to know. So when it comes forth to real life, coming into the NFL or anything that happens outside of the NFL, like I know how to handle things. I've already been through that moment. But for the most part, my time in Miami was well spent. It was well enjoyed. I enjoyed being coached by some of the best coaches there are. Jason Taylor, I enjoyed him. Um, but yeah,
I mean, Elijah, you said a lot there. To just kind of sum up some of those things, I mean, it just sounded as if like the early days, obviously we're talking through a young guy coming out of high school, taking a little while, obviously, which is fine with regards to things such as maturity. And
hmm
obviously throughout your time, throughout all of your trials and tribulations and sort, and kind of maneuvering through your collegiate journey, eventually leading you to a great opportunity with Miami. Playing up against the best talent and really all of the country. Playing on that team, winning a lot of great games. With no offense to Marshall, which is a great program, I think a lot of people just love Miami, the tradition down there, being able to say, "Hey, I went to the U. I was a Hurricane." Uh, Talk a little bit about that culture there, maybe how it influenced you.
the culture at Miami,
Yes.
the culture at Miami is amazing in my opinion. It's very influential. To sit down and know again the things that Miami has been through, football and just the entirety of the city. Even without football, Miami has a lot of influence of the things they've been through culturally, um, from a business perspective as well. But I feel like the culture at Miami is definitely top tier. The standard and the bar is set really high of what we're here to do. We're here to work and we're here to win ball games. But again, even within that system, it's meant to build family, build a brotherhood. So I feel like the culture at Miami is very influential.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys went out there this past season, did an excellent job, ended up with a 10-3 record when it was all said and done. And then obviously, right now we're talking to you as an NFL prospect, done with his eligibility. Elijah, kind of want to look at you as a prospect in this year's draft. I had introduced you as an edge rusher, but what exactly is that for you? Can you talk a little bit about your experience? And maybe how you see yourself projecting to the next level.
Um, my experience as an edge rusher,
You
I
just
feel
your
like
overall experience, like with your position, what you've been asked to do, and then how again you feel you would be transitioning to the next level.
uh, I feel like my world is at my position. It's like I can rush the passer. That's known again as an edge rusher, but I'm just not like a simple edge rusher. I feel like I can do other things. I've been dropped back in coverage, cover people, deep balls, anything that requires me dropping, spies, fill-ins, stunts, blitz, like any. I'm just not a regular defensive end. I feel like I'm more of a hybrid. Specifically, what I play, we call it Jack in the system at Marshall. We also call it the Jack at Miami. It's more of a hybrid defensive end. Again, it's like a mix of a defensive end and an outside linebacker. So um, my experience there is like again, I'm not just a one trick pony. I have multiple talents, and with just being in open space, coming downhill, rushing the passer again, stopping the run, doing different things, being able to be utilized in different ways. With that being said, my transition to the NFL, I feel like will be amazing, especially for the schemes and defenses that I ran in the NFL. I look at players like Von Miller, Michael Parsons. Those people can move, especially Michael Parsons due to the fact that again he's in a similar position as me. He can rush, he can spy, he can add on, he can drop. You know, he definitely plays that world that I like to play in. He plays very freely but systematic at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think sky's the limit as to how an NFL team might use you. I mean, when we look at your overall experience, obviously we're looking at an edge rusher, a guy who makes plays in the backfield,
Mhm.
disrupts plays, of course. But there's a lot more about that you had mentioned. I mean, obviously being able to do things such as, spying the people in the backfield, dropping into coverage. Also, to some extent, being a special teams guy. And
Yeah.
so I kind of want to sit there for just a minute. What's your attitude towards special teams, and what's your favorite position on special teams?
My attitude towards special teams is just as equal as when it comes down to being to play on offense or defense. You get the same energy from me, regardless of what it is. It's the ability to step onto the field and just to execute and play. I honestly feel like special teams are just as important, if not more important, than playing offense or defense. Those plays count the most because they affect the game more than just a regular down. I feel like my favorite position on special teams. I feel like I don't have one really. It's just I'm eager to play no matter where we are. No matter where you put me at, I feel like I'm gonna play. You teach me, I'm willing to be taught and to execute. So no matter where you put me at, I'm eager to play. I'm coachable.
Gotcha. So essentially, anytime you can get on the field, just being able to take advantage of whatever that opportunity is. So,
I like to help
want
the
to
team.
want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights that you've been able to put together throughout the course of your career. When you look back at the entirety of your time with Marshall, I know, as you had mentioned, maybe not always like having a lot of wins, but certainly having a lot of great memories, a lot of great plays. Is there a moment, a game from your time with Marshall that you feel is like your biggest highlight from you at that university?
I feel like one of the biggest highlights. I feel like a lot of us that played at Marshall know, but I feel like it was that 2021 year when we beat Notre Dame. I feel like that is a memory that we can never live down, especially beating them at their field, sold out stadium. That was an amazing game. I feel like that was fun. That'll always be a big memory that I remember. Um, what's another memory? Um, I feel like that's probably the biggest memory, honestly.
No,
There's a lot of other great
fair enough.
memories, but that one right there, I feel like it's put up on the shelf.
Yeah. That one's pretty hard to beat. I hear you. Obviously,
Yeah.
being in that, you know, in that stadium, surrounded by so many fans, being able to, deliver the upset, got to be a great moment. This past year, it's kind of interesting trying to find as big of a moment there when it comes to something like upsets. Because bro, if we look at it realistically, like, the Hurricanes, they are top dogs, man. You guys are beating up on people. And so
Yeah.
bro, right out the gate, delivered a solid performance against Florida. And I know in that game, I believe you had a sack in that game. And then also a couple games after that, delivered a dominant performance against Ball State, where you had an interception. I don't know if either of those plays were your best from this past year, but what is it for you, man? What's the one moment from this past season that sticks out?
I feel like and entirely, I feel like every moment of this past season was was memorable. I feel like they can all be like held up. Like I had fun regardless of what game it was. Like the energy was always going to be the same. The style of play was always going to be the same. Like I feel like I enjoyed the whole year in Miami. Honestly, every
Gotcha.
game, every play.
So, I mean, of course, during your time there, you're playing with some of the top guys. Of course, I think most people are enamored by the quarterback. Most people may even believe he is, going to be number one overall. How is it playing against guys like, Cam Ward, in practice? Like, how has that helped you as a player, man?
Um, Cam Ward is a different person. I'm not going to lie to you. Like we see quarterbacks on TV every day. We see quarterbacks everywhere. Oh, he's a good quarterback, but Cam Ward is a different person. Like y'all see it on TV of him just slowly walking around in the pocket and making everybody miss. It's different when you're seeing that in practice, or like when we know we got one of the top defense lines and we're doing everything to get there. And he's still sometimes dancing and walking through the pocket, or we're giving him pressure. So like in practice, we're on him. Sometimes he got to run. Like we make Cam run sometimes, or at sometimes like Cam will have his moments where he'll walk through the pocket, but covering receivers and thinking like, oh, like it's shut down, and then Cam throws the ball. It's literally like the thread through the needle of how did you even get this ball here? Cam's a different quarterback. I feel like he also his style of play influences not only me, but I feel like it's other players that play D line. It's just like we got to get there. Like we got to learn how to get there no matter what.
I mean, definitely practicing, under that situation where you have probably the best quarterback in the country, where
I
you're,
believe it's an understatement.
no, well, but I'm just saying, probably the best quarterback in the country that you're practicing with, where, you're being tested day in and day out, and you're, practicing to play up against this guy who, is going to end up being a future franchise quarterback for somebody.
Mhm. Of course.
Other than him, who have who has maybe influenced you the most during your collegiate years, man? Is there a player or a coach or something that you feel has poured into you the most?
I feel like the person who's probably influenced me the most or poured into me the most is one of my defensive line coaches that I had at Marshall. It's like a big brother, a great coach. I would consider him like one of my uncles as well. Ralph Street. We still talk to this day. He checks up on me. I check up on him. He's considered family in my book, honestly. But he's poured the most into me that I feel like was the most influential out of my entire collegiate football career.
Cool, man. And so you finished up your collegiate years. You end up making a stop at the Tropical Bowl. Before we move on to anything else, real quick, man, talk to me about the time you spent there, like in front of the scouts, and playing up against guys once again.
Um, I feel like my experience at Tropical Bowl was pretty fun. It was pretty solid. To be able to not only just talk to scouts, I feel like that was something new to actually sit down and talk to scouts. Like when you're practicing, some people talk to you, some people don't. Some people come watch you. That's just how it goes sometimes when you're in college. But being able to actually sit down with them and do real interviews with them, it was pretty fun. Some of it was like I feel like my first interview was kind of like I was a little jittery a little bit because it's like you don't know what to expect. You don't know what they're gonna ask. They ask you all different types of questions, family questions, off the wall random questions that you like. How does this even apply? But it has to be answered. They talk
When
about
you say
football.
off the wall question, what do you
It's
give me an example?
uh, what's a random question? Like it could be like about cats or dogs, or like it like a question that you would never think like would be football related, or like what made you ask me this question? It's a random question.
Like if you were
Like
a
oh,
fruit, like what would you be? Like those sorts of dumb questions.
um, in a sense, like to some people, I feel like certain questions may be dumb. Yes, like. But for the most part, if it's not like a random question, um, I feel like they're kind of solid questions to see where your head is. I feel like one question I got asked was like, if you were new to the team and we just handed you a playbook, we have a team meeting in 3 hours. What are you doing in the span of 3 hours? I feel like that's a pretty solid question to ask. You know, what are you going to do in the span of 3 hours? Well, I'm gonna go try to meet as many people within the building to understand who is who. Probably look over my playbook. Talk to the defensive coordinator or my position coach about the play. Try to get as much knowledge as possible before that 3 hours is up for a team meeting. But I feel like that was a pretty question. The questions do get more randomer than that, but I feel like that's not really a random question. That's a solid question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I get you. I mean, obviously that experience kind of, I don't know, gave you a feel for maybe perhaps what you might end up seeing once again when your pro day
mhm,
rolls around.
most
When is your
definitely.
pro day and how are you preparing for your pro day?
My pro day is March 24th. Right now, I'm currently training at Perform, just down here in Davie, Florida. Just a couple minutes away from Miami, but right now we out here training at Perform. We get into it.
Gotcha. Obviously, Elijah, we've been talking now for quite some time. Is there anything else that you want people to know about you other than the fact that you're a football player? Any other fun fact or something about you that you want to throw out there for people?
Some fun facts. Fun facts about me is I like photography. Um, I like fashion, like just putting outfits together or modeling stuff like that. I feel like that's two things about me. I like to cook. I feel like that's a hobby right there. I definitely like to cook. I feel like those probably my top three things outside of football that I do the most. Um, I feel like I'm very
Gotcha.
simple. I'm into shoes. Definitely a sneakerhead. I
All
probably
right.
have, yeah, I probably have like over at least 50 pair of shoes at the moment. But whatever I don't wear, I just give it to my little brother. So
I know you got like some sort of spider web pendant thing going on right there. Like, does that come from like, I mean, are you like a fan of Spider-Man or something? Like, how did you come up with that?
I don't feel like I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, but I do like spiders. I like science, stuff like that, like biology. But I do like spiders. I feel like seeing actual spider webs, I feel like they're pretty cool. Every spider spins their own web differently. So I feel like that
Gotcha.
was
Well,
a slight
uh,
influence.
obviously, man, you're spinning it in your own way. Obviously, you ended up, having this journey where obviously you ended up going through Marshall, now to Miami, finishing things up, and now we're looking towards this NFL draft. As we close up our time, talk to everybody out there. Tell them what makes you a great prospect in this upcoming NFL draft and why a team should bring you in. So go ahead and close with your thoughts.
Reasons why I feel like y'all should bring me in. I feel like I'm a very solid, well-rounded player. Not just only a player as a person. I bring good energy. I'm very respectful, very polite. Um, Again, on the field, I feel like I bring the energy that needs to be brought. I'm influential to other players around me. Again, I feel like I give everybody the same love, from coaches, trainers, even the equipment managers, anybody, we all get the same love. Like I feel like I bring energy to where it needs to be brought. Again, I feel like I'm well rounded. I feel like I'm a very influential player on and off the field with my style of play and again my personality.
Yeah, I mean, of course, again, doing your thing right now, obviously training. And Elijah, we just want to wish you all the best moving forward, okay?
Thank you.
Sure, man. Once again, I got Elijah Alston, edge rusher out of the U. Check him out.